and then you can explain a little bit. All right, here we go. Everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is a very special Hump Day Hangouts for multiple reasons. One, it is episode 500. So we don't do a whole lot of big promotions around that, but to us, it is a big number. It's kind of cool. It's 500 episodes. We've been doing this for now quite some time, and happy to have everybody who's here today and who sees it. By the way, if you are seeing this after the fact and you are not subscribed yet, if you want to go ahead, click subscribe, get notified. That way you can know when Hump Day Hangouts are happening. But also, if you're asking questions at Hump Day Hangouts by going to semanticmastery.com/HDHO and either entering your question there or asking AI Bradley a question, you can get your answers on the YouTube channel and you'll be notified when those come out. But also, we have a special guest joining us today. We're going to have a little bit of a special presentation. I'm going to hold off on exactly what that is, but I want to say hello to everybody, and then we will kind of get into that. We'll get the presentation, and then, of course, we will be answering your questions, even though it's episode 500, and I tried to get Bradley to just drink margaritas for an hour with me, but he said no. He said, no, I've got to answer local SEO questions. So, Bradley, how you doing today?
Good, man. Busy, but glad to be here for the 500th episode. So
Woo!
we're just saying we dropped the ball and not doing a better promotion of this being the 500th episode. But the big one for me is at 520 because that's 10 years, right?
Yeah.
10-year anniversary. So we've been at this for 9.5 years, a little over 9.5 years. That's freaking nuts. And hopefully we'll be here for another 9.5.
Outstanding. Chris, how you doing today?
Pretty good. Finished the workout like 2 hours ago, so happy about that. And yeah, super excited about the 500th episode as well. So glad to be here.
Cool. Well, like I promised, we've got a special guest. I'm going to ask Bradley to do a quick intro, but we're going to let him also introduce himself and kind of dive into a topic that we think is pretty cool, and the tool he's going to talk about. So, Bradley, I'll just kind of hand it over to you.
So I met Matt at Matt. Should I call you Matt or Matthew?
Yeah, Matt's good.
Matt's good. Okay, sweet. Well, I met Matt at SEO Spring Training, Scottsdale earlier this year, and he came right over to talk to me and everything, and he showed me this awesome app that he'd been building that I was very impressed with, and we had got a chance to get to talk a bit while at the event, and just was interesting to meet Matt, and we're always looking for interesting people that are doing cool things in the SEO industry, and so Matt qualified or fit that kind of mold. So how are you, Matt?
Doing good. I'm taking some of the credit of the 500th episode. I feel honored. We were supposed
Yeah.
to be 2 weeks ago, but I got sick, so I should have just planned that the whole time.
Yeah. Well, I wish we would have done a little bit better at promoting this. We didn't, and that's just proof that we're all very busy because we should have done a little bit better at marketing this. But we've all got a lot on our plates right now, as I'm sure you do too, Matt. But so just so everybody knows, Matt showed me an app that he's been developing that integrates with Search Console to take like Search Console is janky. It's always clunky. It always has been. It's hard for people to kind of pull data from unless you know regex and all that kind of stuff, which I don't even mess with. So Matt's going to be showing us today, or talking about at least his app that he's been building that I was very, very impressed with. And we'll probably do a more formal promotion of this at a later time, guys. But we kind of just wanted to bring Matt on to talk to him a little bit, find out a little bit about you, your business, what you do, Matt, that kind of stuff, and then talk about SEO Gets a bit too. So, Adam, did you have any questions that you wanted to ask him, like what we had been asking for previous members?
No, I kind of wanted Matt to just get into it. Yeah, it was a little different
Okay.
format. I talked to him about this beforehand. So, yeah, Matt, just do your thing.
Sweet. Well, I'll first start with I'm not the developer mastermind behind this. I kind of get to cheat the credit. So Guillermo, I can't pronounce his real name, his full name. He'll laugh at that, but he's the developer, the mastermind behind all of it. He's got a handful of SaaS companies, and I stumbled upon this app early on, and basically reached out and said, "Hey, can I buy this?" And because I personally have Local SEO Partners, which is my local SEO agency. We're a small boutique agency, and we've been doing it for a couple of years, and we love it. And so we found this app. It was something I was looking for. And so tried to acquire it, and he didn't want to acquire it. And we ended up working out an agreement to be partners, to be co-founders on it. So jumped in early. And then I work much more on stuff like this where we talk about it. I'm already networking at a lot of events for SEO. And so it just makes sense to be showing these guys this cool app. And it's nice because I'm building the app for myself, like other SEO agency owners, like SEO consultants. You're not having developers build it where they're thinking in a different way. I know we kind of all have the same issues, same problems. Like, why would you do it that way? That makes no sense. So I'm just in charge of product development, listening to users' feedback, and marketing and growing it. So yeah, SEO Gets is a Search Console upgrade, essentially, where you connect your Search Console, or actually multiple Search Consoles if you have them, into one master dashboard. And I can actually share my screen here real quick to just,
Sure.
as I'm talking about it, we can even just run through it. Can you see that all right?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, so as you can tell, oftentimes we'll have a multitude of websites connected to your Search Console, whereas in Search Console, you're gonna have to click through everything. This allows you to view everything here in this master dashboard. The cool thing is if you have sites in 4 to 5 different accounts, you're allowed to integrate it all into this one dashboard. So they're all here, easy to view, easy to see. You're able to do all of your live toggling. Everything is live. And what we've added recently is the ability to kind of sort this a little bit better. We've talked about folders, and I think that was Bradley's vote with mine, but the tags kind of won. So you can tag things so that you can quickly filter and sort on the different sites. The other thing that you obviously see right here is we have this little privacy blur. People love that for the screenshots, sharing with clients, live calls like this, where I can kind of show stuff and it toggles it. So the master dashboard is pretty straightforward. You're able to create tags, you're able to hide sites that you don't want to see, and you're able to favor sites so that bring them up to the top. And then once you get into it, you're actually able to open up individual reports. So I'll open this one up, and this is my account. And this is the individual reports. And this is kind of where it gets fun into looking into finding content optimization opportunities, topics, things that you're missing. And so in the same way, we have this little filter. So like Bradley was saying, this allows for a lot of regex or conditional statements. So I want contains this, doesn't contain something, and doesn't equal this. And so you're able to quickly build out conditional statements to find answers. As well as we've built a lot of preset templates. So one of the important things with local SEO, obviously, is branded content versus non-branded search. And so you're able to quickly add your brand to this site. And when I toggle here, I'm able to see this is all of my branded queries. And if I come in here, this is all my non-branded queries. So you're able to quickly see how am I doing. Again, we know that Search Console is never a perfect metric. It's all just looking for patterns, looking for opportunities, and looking for anomalies. The other fun things is we're just adding a lot more filters. So like people also ask, this is just a list. You can sort by impressions. So what is keyword tracking? I'm able to open this up, pull this open, and see that this page is getting 415 impressions for what is keyword tracking. I can then go and see, did I answer that question properly on that page? Do I need to create another page? I can do more digging into that. But basically, these are just allow you to fly through and get really valuable information, long tail keywords. There's a lot of opportunities there. So that's kind of the individual dashboards with the filters. Another thing that we allow you to do is this little export right here. If you have a large site, we allow you to export more than Search Console does. So there's 1,000 row limit with Search Console. We allow you to export 50K rows. So if you're really wanting to do some bigger deeping, man, I can't speak. Deeper digging into your information, the CSV export allows you to do that. And then kind of the last thing that I'll just hit on, and then I'll answer if there's any questions, is that with our accounts, we allow for unlimited Google accounts into one license. And then you can also invite currently an unlimited amount of team members and clients. And so that's unlimited websites, unlimited team members, unlimited accounts for $17 a month or $350 one time. We're kind of making it a no-brainer just to get feedback, to get it growing, get people talking about it. And we have a lot of things being built. We do have a roadmap down here if you're interested in looking more into some of the stuff we're doing. We've talked about cannibalization reports. We have a lot of cool stuff, annotations and Google updates, being able to toggle that, working on filters, different graphs, email reports. Basically, we're building this for SEO consultants and agencies that have a multitude of websites. Now, you can still use it if you have a couple sites. It's still great for the filtering, the regex, and like deep diving. I come from the analytics side of SEO, where it's very much just looking for opportunities in content optimizations, low click-through rates, things like that. And it's just a tool allowing you to kind of go across sites, filter, get answers easier and quickly. We know that in SEO, if you can find valuable insights, it can be very valuable to the website to optimize for those.
Yeah, but you just if you don't mind, I want just a quick question on and if you can demo how to do this. But like one thing that I found that Search Console is also valuable for, not only just for optimizing the on-page factors, but also off-page. Because like, for example, if you go in and select a particular page URL in Search Console and then click on search queries, it'll show you all the queries that page was given an impression for. And if you export that and then kind of eliminate those that aren't relevant, that gives you a really good list of keyword phrases that you can use for anchor text, for links, for link building, for example. It also tells you what that page, Google understands about that page, which is why it's giving you impressions for those particular search queries. So one of the things that I like to recommend to SEO clients that are, or, white label clients, excuse me, that ask me to do like audits and things like that, is to, I see SEOs all the time hammering the same keyword on the page over and over and over and over again. I say, don't do that. Use Search Console to go look at the page, the search queries that this page has been given an impression for. And then you can use variants because of what variants that Google gave you the data for, that then you sprinkle in through the content. Instead of having the same keyword in multiple headings throughout the page, you have variants, and that's going to de-optimize the page, but optimize it better for today's search environment. So just kind of wanted to see how your tool shows that kind of data and makes it easier to extract.
Yeah, and this is the stuff I love. So real quick, and again, if you want to do by click-through rates and positions, these are little toggles up here.
Okay.
And I'll do the last 3 months. The other thing that people also have enjoyed, I don't really use this a lot, but if you want to look at a smoother graph, we have the ability to do over months and week toggles. So people like the smoother graphs. I'm a day guy just because I like the choppiness. But to answer your question, so we come down here to pages, and actually this is a great thing. I'm going to do the last 28 days.
Okay.
I would sort by most impressions right here. And I can see that this page is getting a ton of impressions, no clicks. So there's a ton of room for optimization here. And we're not actively working on SEO for this site. So this is an example. So you can just click on this immediately. And now this whole report is filtered by this page. Now, all of these queries are showing you. Now, a lot of them will have clicks sometimes, but I'm going to sort it by impressions. I can see, and I'll do rankings. So I can see all in order of what's getting the most impressions: keyword tracking, keyword monitoring, keywords tracking, SEO keyword monitoring. This is what you're talking about for the most search terms that Google wants to show this for. And I can expand this, and here's my whole list.
That's beautiful.
And that's exactly what you're looking. And then you come right here, export it, boom, there's your
anchor text for link building, and
Yep.
that's also for using in content development.
And you saw how fast and easy that is. Click it out. Boom,
Yeah.
you want to go to the next one? Boom, right there. Done. Click out. Like, you can just fly through these and start getting all of these different opportunities. The other thing that we added was this long tail keywords. If you want to start, if it's a newer site and you don't have as much authority and you want to go after the long tail keywords, I just filtered by the page here, up here in the top, and then I selected long tail keywords. And here's all of the questions that by the most impressions that I'm getting in the last 28 days. So how do I get how do I get my business on Yelp? Well, what I can do is pop this little arrow up here. It'll pop open the page for me. And now I can go through here and I say, did I answer that question properly? If I didn't, throw it into WordPress, fix it, bada bing, bada boom, optimizing your content.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so
Let me see if there's any comments.
yeah, the other thing that I do want to mention, and I should have Adam either post in the comments or whatever. There is an affiliate link for semantic masteries for you guys. I think it's SEO Gets the URL question mark equals semantic. If they sign up with that, we are going to give a lifetime deal in the next 48 hours for anyone that's watching this or that watches this in the next 48 hours and signs up on a trial account. We have a free 7-day trial. So if they sign up using your affiliate code, we're going to give one person a free $350 lifetime deal.
And what's that code again?
So it is SEOgets.com/?REF. So short for referral.
Mhm.
equals semantic.
F equals semantic. I'm putting it in chat,
Yep. And then the
confirming it
other
works
thing is if
first.
they want to purchase it, they can use your code semantic 20, all lowercase, to get 20% off as well. So we wanted to do both those things for you guys as a small thank you for letting me hop on.
Nice.
All
Thank you.
right. Yeah, so here's the URL, guys. Sorry, I'm putting it in Slack, not the right one. Where the hell is YouTube chat? There it is. And then what was the coupon code again?
And then semantic 20, I just pasted both of those in our chat here. Now give them 20% off.
I think I got that right. Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Matt. So we'll the replay will go out. Well, it's being streamed, so it's on our channel, but we'll get more eyeballs over the next couple of days. So how long is that coupon code good for?
So the coupon code is good for it'll be good for a while, the coupon code.
Okay.
The giveaway, if you think it'll take a few days, maybe we would say till next Monday to do the giveaway, and we could, or maybe on the next call, that if we do an actual promotion, we can actually do a live
Okay.
drawing for that lifetime deal. They just sign up with
Okay.
your affiliate code.
Perfect. There's some comments coming in. So Cecilia says, "What the hell? I'm the fly on the wall. How have I not heard about this yet? And you guys have." So that's funny, Cecilia, because I've talked about it a couple of times. SEO Gets is badass. A couple of our members voted for tags. So you bastards, that's why there's no folders. It's tags.
Yeah, it
'Cause-
was about probably 75%, 25 split for the tag.
Really? So we're in the
I
minority,
was
Matt?
kind of shocked. The other
We're in the-
interesting thing is that we see a lot, like we basically we don't have a lot of in-house, but we have a lot of SEO consultants using it, and then the agencies because of the users and the clients. The nice thing with the clients is like you can share, like if I want to share only one site, if I share it with my client, they get access to their full portal for all of the sites in their thing, but they also get access to their site. So you can send it to them and they're able to kind of do their own digging. Most of them won't, but a lot of the SEO consultants love it because they consult for agencies. And when they share it with their agencies, the agencies are like, wow, what's this? This is so cool.
Yeah. That's
But
very cool.
we're building, Guy's doing a fantastic job of developing it. It's fast. I think the interface and the speed is the biggest thing that people like will instantly fall in love with when they try it out. They're like, where's this been? So we're like, I think 3 or 4 months fresh. So still very much in development. We love feedback. We've actually we've listened to a lot of feedback. We're building the tool that the people want. We don't have a credit system, which that's funny. They actually Ahrefs just removed that credit system today or yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Because they pissed a lot of people off over that. So
yeah, but
okay.
yeah, so
I'm not an Ahrefs user, so I have no idea. It's like, okay, people tell me about it, and I'm like, I use Majestic for backlinks. So, but yeah, it's a very cool tool, man. And like I said, guys, the whole kind of the ability to extract data that quickly, and like what we just talked about that Matt demoed with. I love using the queries that Google is giving pages impressions for already as link building anchor text for modifying the content to be better optimized instead of over optimized. Like all of that stuff is incredibly valuable and it works. And then the other thing is what I've been teaching lately in the Semantic Mastery Mastermind is to go out and build a bunch of organic lead gen assets and use that in your pitching, your marketing and sales to land clients. And this is perfect for that because you can go in and build all these low competition area lead gen sites, plug them into Search Console and see in one dashboard, right? Because you can tag them all with like whatever tag you want. You can see all the sites that you have and their performance. And the ones that are performing well are the ones that you use as prospecting tools, right? So it's just a lot of really cool functions that I like about SEO Gets. And I admittedly have not been in there as much as I would like to have been before this call, Matt.
Sweet. Well, we'll see. And I'm like one of the biggest, and it's funny because I use it daily for myself, for my agency.
Yeah.
Like you said, between the content optimization and anchor tags, it's Google's giving you the data.
Yeah.
And then we go and people are running to Ahrefs, and it's like the discrepancy between Search Console data and Ahrefs is just, so many times it's especially on the local level. And there's a little trick that I do that I don't know how many of you guys do with the Google Business Profile. You can add the UTM tags. So actually, I'll see if I can. I'm trying to think of a client I could pull it up for. But basically, Search Console allows you to select that. And so now I can see, instead of going to the performance report in the Google Business Profile, I go to Search Console for seeing impressions and clicks for filtering just the Google Business Profile, because those are clicks specifically for the map pack. And you can see which queries and the rankings that they're getting, because it's obviously going to be during the top 3, but you can see which queries and where Google is displaying the map pack for queries. So some queries are like 5, 6 ranking, and they'll have like 4 or 5 organic spots, but a lot of them are at that one spot. I like going into Search Console and looking at, okay, this is a query I want to make sure that I'm getting more impressions for, because it's ranking, the map pack is ranking higher for the query that it's showing.
Very cool.
Little trick.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Matt, for the presentation. And I was some people saying this looks damn sweet. That's awesome.
Gonna say, had a quick question, and I was trying to get some clarification. Will was asking, are the tags and favorites specific to the account? And I was asking, does he mean the Search Console account or something else? Does that make sense to you, Matt?
Yeah, so it's specific to the browser. So that is something right now, because we have different users on, like you can invite users and there's different things. So if you have your settings on a laptop and I go on my mobile device, it's going to be different. So that's going to be, so that's the short answer is it's browser specific. If you clear, it has to do with the caching of it, and that's why it's so fast. So your settings are cached to your browser. So I think if you open up in Chrome and then you open up in Safari, like your base settings will be there, like all your accounts will be there, but your the tags I think will be the same, but your favorites and your hiding will be different on different devices. So that is something that we are working on, because I can understand that frustration.
So you're saying we can create our own tags though and all that, and then
Correct.
assign them, but
Correct.
it's
So
browser specific, or is that account specific?
The tags, I believe, are going to be account specific. Again,
Okay.
it shows you how much I'm on the development side.
That's fine.
I just
Yeah.
build it. Yeah, I think the tagging is on the account level. The filtering of the favorites and the hiding is going to be on the device level.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. Anselmo says, well worth it. I haven't visited the Search Console in 3 weeks. Anselmo, he had bought it a long time ago before I even mentioned it. Because when I started talking about it, I couldn't remember the name off the top of my head, Matt. When I first started talking about it in our mastermind, I was just like, I saw this Search Console app that was amazing. And then someone was on the webinar and he was like, are you talking about SEO Gets? And I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
So he was an early adopter. It's awesome.
Yeah, we've had some great feedback. I mean, it's been fun because it's something that there's so many tools coming out, AI writers, content optimization tools, and it's like kind of just carved in a niche where it's like we're just trying to improve the Search Console experience to give you information faster and easier so that you win in the SERPs. I mean, that's it.
Very cool.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Well, thanks, man. We appreciate you coming on and sharing that with us. And the offer, guys, again, go to SEOgets.com. You see it's in chat. We'll make sure we make that prominent in the replay as well.
Yeah.
And then Matt, we'll have to get you on. Just continue communicating with Adam, and we'll get you scheduled for a more formal promotion.
Sweet.
And we'll do like an actual real webinar and all that with you.
That'll be fun.
Be awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
All right.
Hey, man.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Matt. We'll see you later.
Bye.
All right, guys, I'm going to jump into some questions. Adam, did you have anything else we should cover right now?
No, I think we're good. Let's we're at 24 after, so let's jump into questions.
Okay, perfect. We've got a handful. The last one is from Roy, which is about land flipping again. So there's one more from about land flipping again today, which we'll cover at the end. But let me go ahead and grab the screen and we'll get right into it. I got a ton of things open on my desktop, so let me clean it up a bit. Okay, I think we're good enough. Okay, so jump right into it. The first one was from Chris from last week. I didn't really get a chance to answer this. I'm going to see maybe if I can answer this today. Yeah, I'm going to pass on that one again for now, just because of the time, and I'd have to get a Bright Local report opened up and all that kind of stuff. So Chris and I have been chatting via semantic links, so I can probably answer that question for him specifically via that avenue. So now the next one is Matthew says, do custom Google Maps with driving directions still work? If yes, then for what? Map or local SERPs, or maybe both? I don't know. According to one of our David, who comes here often and watches Hump Day Hangouts and stuff, he does a lot of Drive Stack stuff and Google Stack stuff, and he still does driving directions maps and all that. I've not done any specific testing with those in several years. Close to at least 2 years, but anyways, 2 to 3 years. It's been a while since I've done any specific testing with that. I saw kind of a declining effect from that 2 or 3 years ago when I had been testing those a lot more extensively, and I was seeing very little kind of movement. I think it's just another layer. It's not, I remember probably more than 5 years ago now, 5, 6, 7 years ago now, those were very, very powerful. My Maps and driving directions and Google Maps with driving directions. So there's Google Business Profile Maps, there's My Maps, and then there's also just directions maps. And so what I've done, when I was doing a lot, like many years ago, My Maps was like a magic bullet, right? It was like the secret sauce. It was something you could do a lot of really amazing things with, and you can still push SEO, local SEO with My Maps. Again, it's not as effective as it used to be as a standalone, right? In other words, as another layer of things, another thing that you can do, another layer of activity, essentially, another layer of optimization. My Maps can be added into an overall project. I think driving directions can still be effective too, without doing any specific testing myself. Why don't I do any specific testing on driving directions? Because I work with service area businesses. That's why. So I think driving directions is more appropriate and more effective for storefront businesses. Although, we've heard about people talking about you can do driving directions from the center point of a city when it's a service area business, the city that the GBP is located in, and then have driving directions out to, houses in their service area, right? That could be potentially a client's house or whatever, customer's house or whatever. Or if it's a business to business type of service, then, to other businesses in the service area. I don't know how effective that is because I've not done any testing myself. Like I said, some people talk about, like David Morgan, I think he does some stuff with My Maps, and I'm not sure about driving directions, but maybe those two. So I think it's worth testing. Or if you can find somebody that's done some extensive testing and can show where it shows those kind of, that it has produced a result. I think just like so many other things, there are certain tactics that we use, right? So individual tactics that work phenomenally well until the general public catches on, and then Google eventually catches on and shuts it down, right? It doesn't mean that it makes it obsolete or non-effective entirely, but the amount of weight or value that Google puts on any one thing is diminished when Google finds out that it's being manipulated. Does that make sense? And so, I think it's just like anything else. At one time it was extremely effective. Now it's just another signal that you should have in your overall suite of signals, if that makes sense. So I don't do a lot of testing with the driving directions maps themselves because of the reasons I just mentioned. I also have gotten away from doing a lot of the extensive drive stack stuff I've found recently. I've been able to get significant results without all that stuff. And so I'm just reducing my workload and simplifying my business, if that makes sense, to only working on what I call pulling the biggest levers to achieve the biggest performance gains with the least amount of effort. And that's what I'm really trying to simplify my business and our processes now to only doing the stuff that is the most critical to achieve results. So those are kind of things that I don't typically test just because of all the reasons I just mentioned. It's still worth testing though, unless you can find somebody that has data that, it's still, by the way, you should still validate or verify what others say. Just the same as I tell people when I'm teaching and coaching and saying what I do, don't believe me, test it for yourself. I saw some comment today in YouTube on one of the videos where I was talking about topic and category optimization. And somebody said, I call BS, blah, blah, blah. I do all the, okay, fine. You can call BS all you want. I teach on what I do. And I always disclaim, this is what I'm finding. And I show results. This is what I find. This is what I do. I've said 1,000 times that there's a million ways to skin a cat. So don't ever take anybody's SEO training as being like the be all end all. Test for yourself, develop your own flavors. That's what I teach. Is I teach how to, what I do. And I always say, this is what I do. This is my experience. This is how the results that I'm getting. I'm not saying it's the only way to do it, because there's a number of ways to do SEO, but just test and kind of figure it out yourself. But it's always good to have some sort of validation prior to setting up a test. When I say validation, like somebody claiming that it produces a result, so that you don't go out and just waste time, but it kind of, still, in my opinion, you should still verify things before just believing them and implementing them, right? Somebody asked last.
Bradley actually said something very important here, that he can actually get results without them. So if you want to know how to actually do this, I highly recommend you join the mastermind.
Right. Thank you. It's a good pitch. But yeah, I mean, again, it's also like somebody I think asked last week, maybe, or maybe 2 weeks ago on Hump Day Hangouts, like, how do you find out, like, how do you find what works and what doesn't work or whatever? Set up test sites. There's not really another way to do it, guys. You have to test. And that's why I keep hammering this away every time I talk to anybody that will listen. Like, pick one industry and do all of your testing in one specific business type or industry type, because then you can start testing, setting up different. Remember, direct response marketing is always beat the controls. Same thing with SEO. Find the best performer, whatever it is that you're testing. You figure out, you establish a control, a baseline, right? A benchmark. And that is you find something that is performing fairly well. Okay. And that becomes your control. And then you test single variable changes to that same type of a setup, that same type of configuration, and monitor the results. And if it creates a positive result, right, a performance improvement, then duplicate that multiple times and see, does it consistently provide a performance improvement? If so, then that variable that you changed should now become part of the control. Like, in other words, that now becomes the new benchmark, the new control. And then you single variable test against that again. It doesn't mean you have to only test one variable, but you have to set up separate test projects to test different variables against what the control was, but only single variable. Because if you go in and you test 5 changes, then you don't know which one of those changes or which combination of those 5 things produced the result, either positive or negative, right? So now keep in mind, though, even single variable testing has its drawbacks besides the time, the amount of time required to do it properly. The other drawback is single variable testing, but what happens when you start to combine variables, right? Then that changes the dynamic of each individual single variable, right? So it becomes a lot more complicated. But single variable testing is important, in my opinion, because you can find certain signals or certain things that can, especially if you can duplicate and repeat that now has, at least as a standalone variable, that has a positive effect or negative effect, whatever. You determine what type of an effect it has. And then you can start testing with combinations of variables, right? If that's clear. And that's what I do, a lot of that kind of testing, but it's very difficult to do across multiple industries, guys. It's so much easier if you do it in one industry, right? And then that's why I'm telling you, build your whole fucking business around that one industry, because then you do all of your testing in that industry. And when you find stuff that works, you just scale it through duplication, right? You duplicate it and you just repeat. If you're in local SEO, which is what most people are here for, you duplicate by just you scale by duplicating that project into different locations. And you don't have any additional work at that point other than just deploying the assets that you've already proven are effective and perform well in that industry, right? Because, guys, with local, if you understand how to get results in local in a particular industry in one location, you can duplicate that in multiple locations. Nothing changes. The only thing that changes is perhaps the competition level, which means you might need more off-page signals, backlinks, engagement signals, etc., and the location modifiers. That's it. That's why, again, in the tree service industry, I've spent over 2 years now really testing what I just described, kind of single variable testing, to come down to what I've found is so far, and it's still being tested against, right? I'm still trying to outperform my current configuration. But what I've been teaching in the DHA program for service area type businesses and that type of a site structure, and optimizing for topics and categories, entity-based SEO instead of keyword-based SEO, it's crushing it. And so, again, it goes back to just doing a lot of testing and figuring out. And what my coaching students or members or whatever, I always preface right up front, listen, I can give you the framework. This is what you should work with. Like, try to adapt this framework into whatever industry you're working in. And it's going to require a little bit of trial and error. But once you figure it out, now you've got something, you have an edge over most others because you have something that you've proven out consistently that you can repeat to get results for. And again, everything that I've been teaching about topic and category optimization, not having every single service times every single location page, which that's how we optimized several years ago. It's inefficient to do that now. Can you still get results with that? Yeah, sure, maybe. I'm not saying you can't, but I'm saying why? Why go through the process of having, if you got 5 services in 5 locations under traditional SEO, local SEO, you'd have 25 pages minimum. Because it's going to be service times city 1, service city 2, service city 3, service 2 city 1, service 2 city 2, service 2 city 3, so on and so forth. 25 pages saying redundant, bloated, duplicate content, basically, other than location modifiers. That's a lot of additional work, a lot of additional link targets, a lot of additional content needs, right? It increases crawl resistance. And so, when somebody says, well, I call BS, I still get results that way. Okay, great. But you're also working 5 times as hard as you need to. If I got 5 service areas and 5 locations that I want to target in 5 services, I can build a site with 10 pages, significantly less content. There's only 10 target URLs instead of 25 now. So I need less links to achieve results. And so again, I'm not saying that my way is the only way. I'm not saying that at all. Build redundant duplicate content pages on your site till your heart's content. I don't give a damn either way. But what I'm saying is I'm trying to teach people a way to be more efficient and to be better and have a scalable model so that you generate more revenue without as much work. And that's what I've been trying to teach for the last several months. Because again, I have conversations with SEOs all the time that join the mastermind because we have a 30-minute onboarding call. And I can just tell so many people are just fucking exhausted because they're just doing too much. They're trying to be everything to everybody instead of just focusing in on one thing and getting really, really good at it and reducing your workload. Why reinvent the wheel for every new client that you take on because it's in a new industry that you know nothing about? Why not just build up, build your knowledge in a particular industry, do single variable testing using the framework that I give you or whatever framework you want to use. I don't give a damn whether it's mine or somebody else's, but just go into one industry, figure out what works in that industry and then scale through duplication instead of trying to always start over from scratch. Or keep doing what you've always been doing and then keep complaining about, and I'm not talking about you, Matthew, by the way. But if you don't change what you're doing, then, how can you expect to get better results? And some of you guys are just way overworked, right? And I know it. So the only way you're going to get out of that treadmill or hamster wheel or whatever you want to call it of being overworked and underpaid is to change your business strategy. So anyway, I don't know if that answered your question or not, Matthew, but I tried. Alan says, a business wants to expand the region of operations from its physical office location to other far-off locations. The region of operation so its service area, from its physical office location to other far-off locations. Is it best to just add these locations on the website as service pages? Well, they would be supporting location pages, not service pages, while maintaining a single GMB profile, or would you rather first create multiple Google Business profiles at those additional locations and then update the website service page to reflect the same? Well, the challenge is, can you get other Google Business profiles? Alan, that's been the challenge. Which is why I'm not even teaching to do that anymore. I'm not I mean, if you want to do it, by all means. First, can you verify Google Business locations for their expansion? Can you do that? That's question number 1. Because that's hard to do now. It's becoming so hard to do. That's why I don't even want to do it anymore, because if you're trying to get a Google Business profile that is not an actual real valid verifiable physical business location, then it's likely it won't get verified. You won't pass verification, or even if it does get verified, it will be suspended at some point fairly soon. Or what I've seen recently is being able to get them verified, but then they never perform. They're just like ghosted, especially if you're using the tactics of like claiming a published but unclaimed Google Business profile and then changing the category and everything else. Those just tend to never perform well. So there's just so many reasons, in my opinion, to not. And again, this is my opinion, guys, based on my experience. I'm not saying what I'm saying is law or gospel. Too many people take that and then they run, well, this other guy said that I'm telling you my opinion and my experience. And my experience is it's a pain in the ass to try to get GBPs verified now when they're not real valid physical business locations. Even if you do get them verified, they either suspend very quickly, like in other words, within a short time frame, or with minor changes, they get suspended or trigger re-verification. And then it makes it sometimes it's impossible to re-verify or to reinstate, and because it's not a real valid business location. Or even if you are able to get it verified or reclaim, like claim something that was unverified or it was published but not verified, and by changing the categories, I found that those are like at a disadvantage where they just never perform well. And so I'm tired of building a business on shaky foundation, right? So the reason I bring all that up is because there's a bunch of context here that I'm unaware of. I don't have the answers to. Like, does the business have other locations that they can verify GBPs to? If that's the case, by all means, get GBPs. So that's the short answer. If you can get real, valid, verifiable business locations for that company, then GBPs is the best way to go. But as far as the supporting location pages, that would be, yes, you want to have a location page on the site dedicated for each individual location. Now, if you can't get GBPs, can you do it other ways? Yeah, you can still do organic assets. You can run Google Ads, right? So you can still get two parts of the SERP, right? Ad section and organic. And then there's something else that's interesting I've not tested with, but it would be worth testing is, can you get into the Google Maps pack in the ad section? Because a lot of local search queries now are showing ads at the top of the Maps pack too. What used to be a 3-pack is oftentimes now a 5-pack, with the first 2 listings being ads. So I'm wondering, because I've not tested this, can you expand and get into the Google Maps pack with a paid local ad, not a local search ad, the guaranteed service ads. I'm talking about just having the location extension, which is the Google Business Profile extension, and regular Google Ads, so that you can appear in Maps, in the Maps pack, and also in the top of Maps in Google Maps. Can you get into the Maps pack when the proximity is far off with 1 GBP? In other words, if you expand your service area to beyond what a Google Business Profile would typically be given impressions for in map search by Google, at least at the top, because the proximity is too far, can paying for ads for the local extension, which is the GBP extension, can you still get ranked in Maps? I've not tested that, but that would be potentially another option to test, right? So organic, Google Ads, traditional ads, then also Maps ads with which is just Google Ads with the location extension. Will that rank in Maps far away and at far distance from the business? I don't know. My guess is no, but I've not tested with that. But again, the short answer is if you can verify GBPs that are real valid GBPs, then yes, you want to do that, and then also have dedicated location landing pages. So supporting location pages that then are assigned to the GBP as the website URL for each of those supporting GBPs. That's clear. But yeah, build location pages at the very least. Even if you can't get GBPs, you can still build supporting location pages. That's what I'm teaching now, is to build organic assets and use that for marketing and sales, really, for more than anything else. But they can be monetized as well. So I don't know if that's clear or not. Yeah. So, and by the way, if you're trying to verify GBPs, if you're talking about real valid business locations, have the location pages first, like already built on the site, and then assigned to the GBP as the website URL when you create the GBP listing. Because you create it first, right? And then it goes into the verification process. At least the last time I did it, that was the process. It may have changed. It might be that you have to verify now before you fill out all the GBP data. I don't know. But before it was, you could pretty much optimize the full profile with website URL, phone number, services, description, photos, all that stuff. And then at the end is when it would trigger verification. It would, force you to verify because it won't allow you to publish until it's verified. So what I'm saying is you want to have all that, the data that you're going to include into the GBP, you want to have as much of it ready for before your verification. And so in other words, you want to have optimized the GBP as much as possible before verification, because that makes it more likely to be verified if it's already tied to a verifying, a validating asset, which would be the money site, etc. That's clear. Something else that can help, by the way, guys, is if you do want to try to verify GBPs for a business, for like additional GBPs for expansion purposes, then if you also not only have the dedicated location landing page already is like built and optimized and all that indexed, make sure it's indexed, but then also like Yext Power Listings or Uberall or something like that, where you can get a bunch of high quality business directory citations that, you know, and built to that specific location with all the data as if it were already a published GBP. And give it a little bit of time. Like once, if you're using Yext or Uberall or whatever, you can get the list of live citations once everything syncs, which takes a couple of weeks usually. But you can then go extract all those citation URLs and submit them for indexing through just running through a few different indexers. And then when you go the verification process, sometimes that alone will enable like phone verification or email verification instead of a video verification, just because there's enough corroborating evidence online to tell Google that there's a real valid location there. So that's another kind of hack that you can use to try to simplify or reduce the likelihood of getting a video verification. That's clear. It doesn't mean that it's always going to work. I've done it. I had one particular client about 6 months ago where I was able to do what I just said, which we created a landing page on the site, a location landing page on the site. Then I set up Yext Power Listings. We did it for two. He wanted to expand to 2 different locations, so we did it for both. And the first one it took, and it was like I was able to verify via a phone call or an SMS. I can't remember, but I did it via. It was a phone verification. I can't remember whether it was an SMS or a phone call. But either way, we were able to verify that GBP. It's still live today. But the second one, we did the exact same process. It triggered video verification, and we were not able to verify that one. I had a contractor, was one of his employees that we're trying to register to their house, and he attempted video verification and it failed. So I'm just saying that's sometimes it'll take, if you have pre-indexed data that so that Google is aware of Google has some validating or validating evidence online that there's an actual business there. That's clear. Todd says, hey, what is your latest strategy for using Web 2s? We ordered the ones you recommend from Amazon Legiit. Now we're interested in the best way to leverage these sites. Thanks. So a couple of things. One, put them in same as attributes in local business schema, right? So you reference those in same as attributes, local business schema. Number 2 is you can build links to them with relevance, preferably topical and or geographic relevance. Number 3 is you put them into a G sheet. I teach this in ID page training, right? Put them into a Google sheet. So put like keywords in column A, URLs in column B, and in column C, you concatenate, right? You can do a simple formula where you combine column A with the URLs in column B to make anchor text links in column C. So keywords that are relevant to your industry or the business that you're, whatever, the project you're working on, so that now you've got in column C, you've now got hyperlinked keywords that are linking to the branded and supporting assets that you're talking about. Then you publish that G sheet, get the embed code, and then put that into an ID page, right? And then the ID page, you publish and publish the ID page, and then you designate that ID page URL in the add ID field of the local business schema. Then resubmit that page that you have the local business schema inserted into, that page URL, resubmit that to Search Console to force Google to recognize the new ID page, right? Because then the Google bot goes, remember guys, a lot of you don't know this, but the ID page, the add ID field in structured data is for a unique resource identifier, a URI, that tells the search engine bots to follow that resource to that resource where it can then corroborate or validate location information for that specific local business. That's what the ID page is, the ID designation is supposed to be for. Most SEOs have no idea, and they just put the URL that the local business schema is inserted into in the ID field. Maybe they'll put the hashtag or pound symbol ID at the end of the URL, but that does nothing for the search engine bots. That does nothing. It's wasted. Like, it's just a waste. It's a lost opportunity because the ID is supposed to be URI, unique resource identifier, that tells the search engine bots you can follow to this resource where you can corroborate or validate location information for this specific local business. So use that, manipulate it. It's our opportunity to partially control how Google develops the knowledge graph for that specific local brand, that local business, right? If we tell that it's guys, I say this in every single audit. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, right? You buy a puzzle, you can see on the box what that image is supposed to be. But when you dump the puzzle out onto a table, it's a bunch of scattered pieces that you have no idea what that image, if you didn't have the box, you wouldn't know what that image looks like, right? But as you start to organize those pieces and fit them together, an image starts to emerge. The more pieces you fit together from that puzzle, the sharper that image becomes, right? It's the exact same process with Google and how it develops a knowledge graph for a local business. It starts with this vague understanding of who the business is, what they do, and where they do it. And it tries to create a sharper understanding, a clearer understanding of who the business is, what they do, and where they do it by finding corroborating evidence. What is that? URLs online, pages online that mention who the business is, what they do, and where they do it. And it starts to assemble those scattered bits of data into an organized fashion, which becomes the knowledge graph for that local business. And so if we can assist in developing that knowledge graph by helping Google to very quickly organize and fit those scattered bits of data together to create a clearer or sharper image of that business and who they are and what they do, right? Then that is our way of helping Google to have a better understanding of that business, which it will reward in search when done properly, as long as other factors like on page and everything else are proper too. And so with Web 2s, guys, it's not enough to just have them. So many people get things like those gigs and then they never do anything with them. Well, then you're leaving it up to Google to discover, which is very slow on its own, and start putting those pieces together. Why don't we help Google put that puzzle together much quicker? We should be doing that. And that's what schema, using same as attributes and some of the other things that we do in schema, like knows about and mentions and areas served and all that, guys, schema is code to tell, especially local business schema, to tell Google who the business is, what they do, and where they do it, right? So use schema, use ID page with a dedicated ID page where you consolidate, collect all that information that references the business, name, address, phone number, website, with accurate information. You do not want to reinforce bad information, but collect all the page URLs that you can find on the web that have accurate information published about that business, put it into an ID page, concatenate them into a G sheet, which is embedded into the ID page. Then you designate that ID page in the add ID field and then build links to that son of a bitch, right? That's going to cause Google to recognize that much quicker. And so that's Web 2.0s are fantastic for that because they're high authority, high domain authority properties, which I typically don't give a damn about, but in some cases it's relevant. And then interlinking them, building links to them, but then assisting with discoverability so Google finds them. All of that is going to make it more valuable. There is a method to our madness. When I do video or audits for clients, the first component, the first section, there's 4 sections, and the first one is entity analysis I cover that, assisting with our brand search. We do brand search supporting assets, like we look to see how do you know your local business entity or a local business entity is well established and Google has a good understanding of it. Do a brand search, look at the top results. What the metric that I use is out of the top 20 results. So the first 2 pages, if Google is displaying pages, if it's endless scroll, I want to see 80% or more of the top 20 results. So 16 or greater of the top 20 results should be branded and supporting assets that are explicitly referencing that particular business location. If you don't see 80% or greater out of the top 20 results that are in the search results for a brand search that explicitly mention that particular location, that means there's some pollution occurring, some ambiguation occurring. The entity is not established enough in Google. The knowledge graph is not clear enough. The image is not sharp enough. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's about helping Google to have a better understanding of who the business is, what they do, and where they do it. And one of the ways we can do that is by strengthening the entity, by assisting with discoverability, informing the knowledge graph, all of that, right? They all mean the same thing, basically. And so if you do that, that's always the tip of the spear, in my opinion. If you strengthen the entity to where Google has a good understanding of it, the knowledge graph is clear, then it makes so much the other SEO efforts easier, right? You need less backlinks, less off-page signals, everything else to achieve results. So Web 2s are perfect for that. It's a great strategy. Those are what I call non-traditional citations, right? There's traditional citations, which are business directory listings. Non-traditional citations are published mentions of name, address, phone number, website on various platforms, Web 2s, social media, image platforms like image sharing, videos, YouTube, Vimeo, all that. All of those can be non-traditional citations. So, and they should be included in every SEO campaign for local. That's all I talk about is local. So James says, I have niche down fencing. I have a niche down fencing lead gen site that's been ranking for local in general terms for years. Recently, Google started ranking all the e-commerce shops above me for all the general terms and even some of the local terms, as this type of fencing can also be purchased as a product for do-it-yourself. It's obliterated our traffic by 80%, even though we still rank #1 in maps. Business owners looking at shutting down shop. To win back rankings, I'm looking to add a shop to the lead gen site with WooCommerce that turns into a web form once customers add the products to their cart. Would love to hear your thoughts if you encountered something similar. No, I have not, but that is a pretty interesting strategy to try to combat that. That's pretty interesting. Adam, were you going to comment on something?
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, I think it's a really smart idea.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, I haven't done it. I've never seen it done, but that makes perfect sense to me. And man, if you do that, we would love to hear back about it because I've never heard of anyone doing this. But I've seen that for a lot of search results. I'm sure like a lot of other people where you're getting tons of ecom type results in, kind of questionable areas. So that would be a really cool test.
Yeah. That's a sound hypothesis for sure.
Yeah.
So I like that. That sounds like a good idea. I don't have any experience with e-com stuff at all, and I have no desire to do that. So I can't really comment on that, but it's a very logical theory that I think should absolutely be tested. If you're trying to save the client's business, then yeah, that's a noble cause, in my opinion, to go through the hassle of trying to set that up, right? Plus, if you figure out that works, then that could be a whole business model for you to do. Is find those types of search queries that pop e-commerce stuff that are local search queries, but pop, the results are crowded with e-commerce stuff. And then if you've developed a method that worked and you can duplicate that, I mean, that's a whole freaking boutique agency model right there, right? Because you could help others that are experiencing similar drops in business and revenue because of those types of search results that you could, if you find the fix, you might have a blue ocean is what I'm saying. So very cool. I don't have any opinion on it, but other than I think it's a sound strategy that should be tested if it's worth it, in my opinion, or in your opinion. I mean, Rob says, what would you recommend, or would you recommend doing any type of tiered link building to the geo pages, or better to just link to the IPD page? No, I mean, I do link to the geo pages. If you're talking about supporting location pages, it is, it also depends on your site structure and your internal linking, right? The thing is if you build the site, if the site is built properly, the way that I've been teaching with for service area businesses, guys, I can't stress it enough. The way that I've been teaching is it's one big and reciprocal link. So it doesn't matter whether you build links to a service page or a location page. It doesn't matter. The link equity and relevance is going to flow to every other page on the site because there are contextual links within the main content body from every page to every other page. And that's the way I'm building my sites now. And they perform phenomenally well, which is how we're able to reduce content, reduce the number of backlinks needed, the number of pages needed, everything. And so, yes, you can build links to the geo pages or the supporting location pages, etc. If your internal linking is done properly, you can build links to your service pages and they're going to flow to your supporting location pages. Depending on how complex the site build is, right? I mean, I've been doing sites without that are what I call simple structure because it's just one level of pages. There's not multiple levels. Like, in other words, I don't have multiple like categories and subcategories. I'm teaching build single, and that in the industry that I'm in, it's basically one service category, tree services. There's multiple services that all fall under that category, but I don't need silos. I don't do silos on my tree service sites anymore. It's unnecessary. It's more work than is needed. And I'm telling you, like I said earlier, guys, I'm really trying to simplify everything in my business to make it easier to scale and just less work. And so, yeah, you can build links to the supporting location pages. And if you have the internal linking done properly, it doesn't matter which page you build links to, really. Why I like the ID page, though, is because the ID page, you can be more aggressive with link building. You can build links faster. You can be more aggressive with keyword anchors, etc. Because, you know, if you're hosting the ID page on something like Amazon S3 or Microsoft Azure, which is what I teach, then it's going, you know, you can be a lot more aggressive to link building to those pages than you would ever want to do to the money site, if that's clear. So there are opportunities to be more aggressive with other assets, but on the money side alone, yeah, of course, you can build links to those pages. Think about that. That's where geographic links come into play, right? Because if you build links with geographic relevance to specific pages, then that's going to help that page to perform better. That's clear. Which, by the way, we're approaching 1,400 local blogs now. So blogs with geographic relevance at semantic links. We just passed 1,800 overall blogs. So we've got a lot of capacity for you guys if you need it. All right. Last thing I'm going to answer is the land flipping question. Cecilia says, I'd do that test for the fence. I heard in the latest update, sites that were hit got ecom sites overtaking them. Yeah, Cecilia, if you're still working in the fence industry, that would be worth testing if you have the bandwidth. I don't know how you do, but that would be pretty cool. Okay, sweet. All right, guys, I'm going to answer this land flipping questions. If you got to go. And as soon as I'm done with this one, I'm going to jump. That'll be it for the day. Yeah, okay, that's the last one. All right, so this is long. Try to read through this, guys. Like I said, go if you're done. The SEO stuff is done. So see everybody next week. Hey, Bradley, what's going on? I have some good news. I got my first sale agreement signed by a landowner for land he owns in New Jersey. Is that the one you were talking about last week? If so, that's awesome. The owner was willing to sell for 100K, and I got it down to 79,484. That's perfect. So you shaved 20% off of his bottom price. His rock bottom price. You still got 20% off of that, right? Fantastic. It's amazing what can happen when you ask. And he agreed and signed the sale agreement. Now I have 180 days to close the deal. Fantastic, Roy. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. This is an infill lot in the most recent sale of lands of similar size in the area, around 200K. And well, for one sale and then 150K on another. I was told that New Jersey is a mixed state as far as closing by title company attorney, and North Jersey likes to close with an attorney, while South Jersey likes to close with a title company. Okay. One problem is that I see that the sellers already has this land listed on Zillow for 375 by a realtor from 69 days ago. Well, then there has to be. I asked the seller what's up with the listing. Hold on, let me finish reading this on Zillow, and he said that the realtor hasn't gotten any potential buyer, and that's why he's trying to sell it himself. Yeah, but you got to be careful. I don't know if I'm assuming realtor contracts. So the listing agreement in the state of Virginia, it's probably different state by state. I'm not sure about that because I've only sold one piece of property outside of Virginia, and that was in West Virginia. So you got to find out what the contract law is in the real estate agreement, the realtor agreements, listing agreements. Because if they have exclusive rights to sell the property and the seller tries to sell a property in the state of Virginia, at least, if the seller tries to sell for sale by owner when they have a listing agreement in place with the realtor, then the realtor can still lay claims to their commission, even if the seller, the property owner, sells for sale by owner. Then the listing agreement, the listing realtor can still sue the seller for specific performance or whatever it's called for the commission. No kidding, because it's in the listing agreement. So you got to be real careful about that. That's why I hate dealing with flipping properties when there's a realtor involved, because realtors will muck it up. They will absolutely throw a monkey wrench into the gears because most of them don't understand how to flip land or how to flip real estate. A lot of them will tell you what you're doing is illegal when they're full of shit. They just don't know. And if they did know, they wouldn't be realtors. They'd be flippers, right? Because you can make more money that way. But anyways, you got to be real careful about that. So you say, now that I have the sale agreement from the seller, will the listing on Zillow come in the way when it comes to closing the deal? I mean, it could. Again, you probably got to get a copy of the listing agreement from the seller and read through it. And if you don't know what you're looking for, contact the settlement company that you may be, I think we talked about this last week. If you're the same one, which I'm sure it is, I told you to call around because you said, how do you select a title company? You just call around, just pick some and call around and tell them what you're doing. Like, I'm flipping land, I'm getting properties under contract, and then I'm doing an assignment of contract. Can you handle those closings? When you find a company or several companies that will do those types of closings, then ask that question. Like, okay, here's the first property, the first project that I have ready to go. Here's the circumstances. Here's the listing agreement. Can you tell me, can the seller sell this property to me without having to pay the commission? You have to find out that stuff before trying to proceed with marketing the property, because otherwise you end up wasting your time, energy, and resources, including money, marketing the property just to find out that any profit that you were going to make is going to have to go to the realtor and commissions, right? I don't know what the agreement is, but you need to find out. Usually when I saw a property listed with the realtor, I would just pass. That would go in the trash bin. Or I would take that property owner's contact information and find out how long the listing agreement was for, and then contact them at the end of the listing agreement to see if they still have the property, because at that time, then I could sweep in and lock it up under contract once the listing had expired, if that makes sense. But you don't want to get involved with fighting with realtors over a property, because the realtor will win if they have a signed agreement. Their contracts are 15 pages. I'm sure you're aware of that. Our contracts as buyers and sellers or flippers of real estate, because you don't really buy unless you do a double closing. If you're just assigning a contract, you're just a wholesaler, right? Wholesale agreements, purchase sale agreements are 1 page, but realtor contracts are 15 pages or whatever they are, 12 pages, whatever the hell they are. So my guess is it's pretty ironclad, but you're going to have, and if you can't read it on your own, which, again, it's legalese, it's hard to decipher until you've looked at a bunch of them, then ask the settlement attorney or closing company that you're considering using to review it and provide you with the proper guidance or, instructions. Like, what is my risk here? Is the seller going to be on the hook for commissions if they sell the property, or if I flip this property, etc.? Get all that answered right up front. And listen, I know it's exciting, it's your first deal, but trust me, don't try to force a deal if there are red flags, if there are hurdles, because just go find another deal. Trust me, you'll save yourself a ton of headache. If you just pass the deals that you're unsure about, just look for other deals. There will be other deals, I promise. I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm just trying to prevent you from going through a bunch of bullshit just to find out you're not going to get paid, right? Plus, you piss the seller off, you piss the realtor off, all kinds of stuff. It's better to avoid it. So anyways, for example, could the listing realtor take legal action against the seller or me if the realtor realizes that I'm marketing the land while his listing is still up on Zillow? Yeah, but listen, if the listing agreement does not explicitly state that it's exclusive marketing rights for the realtor, if it doesn't state that, then the seller still has the ability to sell the property elsewhere or on their own. Again, this should be spelled out in the contract. And if it's the listing agreement, if it's not, I mean, if the seller has the ability to market and sell the property without the realtor, then it doesn't matter whether the listing's still on Zillow or not, except for if you try to market the same property on Zillow, which you can do, by the way, then it might flag it as a duplicate type of listing, and that could be a problem. But just because the listing, I know for a fact that there's a lot of, or not a lot, but several properties that I flipped still had listings on, like, property listings on Zillow, but the listing agreement had expired. It's just the realtor didn't go in and update that listing status. And so it was still live on Zillow, and that would just restrict my ability to market that property on Zillow, but I could still market it on Facebook Marketplace, land.com, and those other different types of sites. I just couldn't market it on Zillow, if that's clear. Also, how should I go about finding good title companies? Yeah, just search for closing companies, title companies, etc. Look at reviews, find some that have good reviews, and then just call them. That's it. Just call them and tell them exactly what you're doing. Tell them I'm in the land wholesaling business. I'm locking properties up under contract with a purchase and sale agreement. Ask if they need to see your purchase and sale agreement. Send it to them for review. This is my agreement. This is my assignment agreement. I'm locking properties under contract, and then I'm marking it up and doing an assignment of contract for a fee, which will be collected at closing. Can you handle that? and then they'll cut you a check for the difference, right? When the purchase is made by your buyer, whoever you've whoever you've assigned a contract to, at closing, the closing company will take the assignment of contract fee and cut you a check or wire it into your account. That makes sense. So just call the companies and ask them. Provide them with your agreement so their attorney can review it. Make sure it's all legit for transactions in that state. Guys, there's no substitute for that. Don't try to do this shit on your own. Contact the professionals and ask them. It's worth it. Also, since this is somewhat a larger deal, should I do an assignment of contract? Yes. Assignment of contract. Do not do double closings. That opens you up to capital gains tax, which is significantly higher. It's just, there's so many reasons not to do double closings. If you can do assignment of contract in New Jersey, do that, because then you're just shuffling paperwork. Otherwise, there's a whole bunch of tax implications that come in if you buy and sell properties, because you do take ownership, even if it's only for an hour. No kidding. You still take ownership. They have to record the deed with you as the owner, and then they record and the same day they'll record the deed of who you sold it to. It's called a double or simultaneous closing, but that is not the best way to do it. If you want to do assignment of contracts, I promise you that is the better way to do it. It will save you a ton of headache. But you also don't have to worry about all the closing trouble that happens with closings. Almost every closing, there will be a hiccup. Everything else, all you do is assign the contract and then you're done. You just wait until the closing occurs and then you collect your money, and that's it. So much better. Do assignment of contract. Both the seller and buyer will see how much I'm making on the deal. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. I've only had I flipped 34 pieces of vacant land over 2 years, and I only had one person even question about the assignment of contract fee. And my answer to them was, I got a deal and I'm selling you a deal. So what's the problem? And they said, no, you're right. And that was it. One time out of 34, somebody asked, well, what is this assignment of contract fee? And I said, because I locked the deal up under contract, I marked it up slightly so I could make some money for finding a deal, and I'm selling it to you for a deal. Remember, if you're selling a piece of property, it's significantly under market value. What difference does it make how much money you're making on it? To either the seller or, and by the way, who cares if the seller sees it? The seller's already signed an agreement with you. They're locked in. They can't get out of it. That's why you got to check on the realtor listing agreement, right? The seller can't back out of that deal, or you can sue them for specific performance. So once you get the property under contract, it doesn't matter what the seller sees as how much money you're making, whether they get mad or not. Who cares? Like, you have the agreement. At the time they signed the agreement, that price was acceptable. So what changed? The only thing that changes is they see that you're making money on it. So it doesn't matter. The contract has already locked them in at that price. It's only the buyer that you really have to worry about. And again, if you're selling it at under market value, who cares? You're still selling a deal, right? So it doesn't matter how much you mark it up and how much money you're making on the deal. And if somebody ever gives you grief about it, you just tell them, I should be paid for finding this deal and passing this off onto you at far under market value. Am I right? Right? Then that's it. And if they don't like it, tell them to go kick rocks and find some other buyer. Oh, by the way, if you get a non-refundable deposit out of them too, on the sale agreement side of things, or on the assignment of contract, which you can get a deposit for that, and make it non-refundable. So get a $500 assignment of contract fee, which is a binder deposit, earnest money. So now you're getting $500 from a buyer to assign the contract to them. And if they decide not to buy because they're mad, or which again, I've never seen that happen, but if they were mad, then fine. Tell them, go kick rocks, go pound sand. I've kept your you got $500 out of it. Now you can remarket that property to another buyer. Does that make sense? So it's about protecting yourself, guys. In the quick turn real estate market, there's a ton of ways to do it. And again, most realtors have no idea what you're doing. I put weasel clauses in contracts that would state stuff like, buyer's approval of feasibility study. And so then I would, order a perk test to see if a property would perk for a septic system or whatever. And the perk test would come back and say, yep, it qualifies for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And then but for whatever reason, I found the property hard to market or whatever. And I would back out of the contract and say, like, even to a realtor when buying properties through realtors, like, because I had done that too. And I would say, I'm sorry, I disapprove of the feasibility study. Well, but the soil study came back and said it approves for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Yeah, but the language in the contract that you advised your client to sign, the addendum or the contingency was subject to buyer's approval of feasibility study. And then the realtor, and I would say, and I don't approve of this. Yes, it perked, but I don't approve of this. And I don't tell them why I don't approve it. It might be because I found it hard to market or whatever. And then the realtor would come back and say, well, you can't do that. You're the realtor. You're the one who's advised your client to sign this contract with that language in it. Yes, I can do that. And so again, most realtors have no idea what the hell they're talking about when it comes to quick turn real estate. So again, get to know that kind of stuff very, very intimately. It will make you better, and it will protect you from getting potential, in legal trouble or losing money, or both, right? Anyway, yeah, don't do a double closing. They can't cut you out of the deal. Again, if your agreements are signed properly, they're not going to cut you out of the deal, or you can sue them, right? You can cloud their title and everything. I've had to sue property sellers that backed out on deals for me. I've got judgments out there right now against property owners. If they ever sell the property, guess who gets paid? I do. If they keep it in the family, then I'll never get paid. I'll never get a damn dime. But if they ever sell the property, that deed cannot be transferred until I get paid, because there's a judgment against that property. That makes sense. And that's because I've had to sue sellers that backed out on sales form. And by the way, that sucks. It's not fun. So you want to try to avoid that as much as possible. But when you're right and they back out and you've invested time and money into the project, then you should recover it. And so at the very least, get a judgment. And at small claims court, like, the sellers never even showed up for me, so the judge automatically awarded the judgment. Said, okay, they didn't show up, so we award the judgment. Boom. Now there's a lien against the property, the deed of that property. They cannot transfer sale until that lien has been satisfied. Excuse me, the judgment's been satisfied. Okay. All right. Last is, how would you suggest I come up with the cash to purchase this land if I were to do a double closing? First of all, you don't have to come up with the cash with the double closing. You use the buyer's money. The buyer's money funds the deal. That's what a double closing is. That's why it's called a simultaneous double closing, because you schedule the purchase and the sale on the same date. So it's an A to B, B to C sale. You are B, right? A comes in as the seller, sells it to you, who's B. And then an hour later, the buyers come in, and you as the seller now as B are now selling to C, the buyer. The buyer's funds are what funds the transaction from the first sale. And again, you just collect the difference, but I don't recommend that because it opens up a whole lot of tax implications. So just go with an assignment of contract. That is a marketing fee that is paid for by the, or paid for at closing. That's clear. All right, guys, sorry about the additional 18 minutes.